Won't say whose fault it was. Might be mine. First subject is the Eisenhower renovation addition project discussion and update. We did hold a pre-construction meeting last Wednesday. All 4 prime contractors were there. Insurance, our insurance representative was there. Tony and Elijah from Bucart Horn, and Larry Calvetti, our new clerk of works, and a few other people, Jared, myself, Rob, Dave. So I thought the meeting went well. Tony ran a pretty strict, meeting, went through the agenda, covered all the different topics. After the meeting, I did ask Rennick Brothers if they foresaw any trouble with ordering equipment or get with lead times, and he said he didn't know anything so far, but he also mentioned another project that they have. He had ordered 2-inch Bell and Gossett valves in February, and they just come in last week. So we'll have to keep on that. I guess we'll have to tell Larry that probably every meeting agenda, bi-weekly meeting agenda, that's talked about, what the lead times are, where the material, supply is.
Terry, I have to bring up something on that. The Challenger program up there is starting to move forward. And I spoke to REA today about a 3-phase transformer. And he told me that there were no 3-phase transformers available until early 2025.
Rosebud bought them all.
What's that?
Rosebud bought them all.
Rosebud could have bought them all. But the question that I have for Tony is that, did he spec a new transformer for the building? I don't know that. And I know it isn't actually a rhetorical question. It's a question we need answered. I don't need the answer tonight.
Yeah.
But did he spec a new transformer? And if he did, can we use the existing transformer, even if we reduce some of the loads, in order to make sure the school is operational when the time comes, and then install the new transformer whenever it would get here, if they did in fact spec a new transformer?
Yeah. Jared, you write that down. You gonna follow
Yep.
up? Okay. There's really nothing else on the project update other than they weren't going to start anything until like the next day, until the insurance was in place. So it didn't sound like there was much going on over there this week. Or
No, I think the general contractor may be on site as early as tomorrow or Wednesday to kind of start.
looking at things, and setting up some trailers or where.
And tomorrow's
trailers.
the
Yes.
official start
Official
date.
start of their time clock, yes.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's a safety fence going up pretty quick around the site.
That was kind of the conversation, one of the
discussed, yeah.
conversations we had, yes.
Construction schedule, Tony or the general contractor gave the other primes till the end of the month to get their schedules to him, and then he'll make a coordinated schedule between the 4 primes. The next thing we talked briefly about, there's still some items stored at Eisenhower. And so this leads into D, purchasing new furniture. There's going to be we approved a contract with McNaughton Brothers to take the items that are there now and put them in storage. So the idea come up was, why would we store stuff if there's a if we're not going to use it? So we thought, well, we'll discuss, and this has been discussed previously, about whether we're going to purchase new furniture for that school. So I think Aaron and Jared, you guys were going to go over and itemize, and Rob, what's there. So
We did. We went over and looked. There are, I believe, there's 140 desks-ish, give or take a a dozen that are there, and they range in condition from, serviceable to should have been thrown out 10 years ago, So there's about 450 chairs. A lot of those desks got sent to the junior high to accommodate Eisenhower moves. So, so we have the desks in the district if we don't want to buy new furniture. I mean, it kind of hurts my soul to build a new building and not put in new furniture. But if we had to get to that point, we could use it. We took pictures. A lot of the chairs. A lot of the chairs are rusted. They got the bolts in the back are rusting. Again, serviceable, not something that I would put in a brand new school. So, and again, it's going to cost us at the volume we have now. It's going to cost us $1,200 a month to store all of this stuff. If we're going to store it for 15 months and pay all that money and then throw it out at the end, that also hurts my soul. So what I would recommend is that we decide if we're buying new furniture, and then we just take that other furniture and we either sell it or we, put it somewhere else or repurpose it. We replace the older, uglier desks that are throughout the district with the best, and then throw away the rusty ones and move forward. That would be my recommendation. But again, I understand that, furniture is not
We've
cheap.
had this discussion about furniture. And the board, as I remember, was asking you to make a recommendation because of not only the furniture, condition of the existing furniture, but also because of the way you use it in the classroom typically.
Absolutely.
At the same time, we have a whole school full of desks and whatnot. I don't want to buy new furniture if all you're going to do is replace it in time. I also don't want to spend $2 million on furniture. So I would like to get a budget established on what we're looking at and what you can reuse.
Mhm.
Some of my impressions from the old furniture is it felt like Army surplus. Okay, and it has another 50 years of service in it. And some of the more modern furniture I'm not too impressed with. So,
I agree with that.
So we're not going to do that work for you around this table.
No.
Well, I'm gonna throw out, no pun intended, that they throw out what is
Rusted.
rusted and, needs repaired or is broken and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would go with the broken part. Okay, I'm not sure why we have rusted furniture. Did that rusted furniture come from the moisture
I have no idea.
of the
I don't know. I can just tell you that, there's some that has some pretty significant rust on it that I would not.
And I would imagine if you went into one of our buildings, you're gonna find some rust on the chair legs and that kind of stuff. And, I mean, it's not rusted with holes in it and it's gonna
No,
fall
it's
over
not,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
It has rust on the legs and down at the bottom started.
I'd rather pay $1,200 a month until we knew what you were doing. Okay, get rid of the broken stuff, no question.
Well,
Okay, the things that are still usable, I want to hang on until you come to us with a.
Okay, so we have to do that because McNaughton Brothers is showing up
we actually are organizing
By
a
the
work
end of the
day.
month.
by the end of the month.
We're organizing
The
a
last.
We're not gonna have-
31st.
Data
We are,
to
I
make
understand, but.
much more of a decision.
But again, this has been on the table. We knew this was coming.
Ron?
Yeah, I don't want us to see us go backwards again. We went and looked at the other schools, we've seen the modernization, we see how now you put the desks together. If we have to spend a little money to make it right, I think we should spend that money to make it right. I don't agree with taking junk to McNaughton's and spending $1,200 a month on it. I will never agree to that.
No-
That's wasting money, you're throwing it down taxpayers'
No
dollars.
question, but I also am not willing to commit to a decimal point that none of us have any idea what it's gonna
Well,
cost.
I agree with that, but there's some desks we're gonna have to buy. If we're gonna make modern classrooms like we went and looked at, we're gonna have to.
Well, we're
Oh, wait.
we're storing things that we're currently not using. Our students have desks at the junior high that they're using. So worst case scenario, we throw everything away that's at Ike right now. We still have enough desks for our student population at Ike. So what are we storing it for? If we're not going to use it.
that's a great point. Yeah, and we're organizing a work day that we're gonna, in a couple weeks, we're gonna go right before the McNaughton brothers come. We're gonna spend a day going through, and if it's garbage, it goes in one pile. If it needs saved, this goes in another pile. If we need to ask someone, it goes in another pile. Because we opened up some of the storage boxes from the teachers, what they put in the store, and I opened it up and they had cassette tapes in it. And like, we're not paying to store cassette tapes. We don't even have anything that can play the cassette tape, so we're gonna ask that person, do you, you know,
Have the teacher come.
yeah, you either come and get it or I'm throwing it in the garbage. We're having that day, in a couple weeks here. Once we get that down,
But the doctor, but
uh,
Jim's right.
100%.
Okay, we got everybody sitting in Eisenhower with desks, we got everybody sitting in Horace Mann desks, so all the furniture at Eisenhower right now is.
Not being used.
I think our two
to
piles
access.
should be garbage or sell if, you know, there is a sale to be had. You know, if we have anything serviceable, we can get a couple bucks for.
And we try, and I would imagine we will have another auction, like we had an auction a year ago at this point, and we got rid of maybe some desks, maybe some chairs, but not
much.
as many as we had.
So I know for medical supplies, there's a place up in Du Bois, KMH or KM, they do medical stuff. So when a hospital closes or they redo something, that place gets all their old equipment and then they try to refurbish it, resell it. Is there a place like that for school equipment? Like, it's a giant warehouse. You can go in and there's EKG machines and stretchers and anything medical you've ever thought of. It's there. They refurbish it and resell it. So we're not responsible for that. We just, you know, they buy it for pennies and try to resell it. That's their business. There's got to be a place like that for school stuff.
I know there's a place like that for construction stuff in Pittsburgh, Construction Junction and art stuff next door, but
Yeah, I mean, it was an online auction that we went to, what we used before. We even reached out, I think, to some of the local churches or whatever to see if anybody needed chairs and desks, and everybody turned us down. But again, we're going to have another auction, I would imagine, when the two buildings come together, because Horace Mann's going to have stuff to be rid of as well. So
But before you throw the good stuff out at Ikeville, I'm gonna say, look at Horace Mann to make sure
Oh, 100%.
it's not worse than what's at Ike and stuff.
Yeah,
So-
At the same time, we say this,
I'm doing that.
there's school equipment suppliers, furniture suppliers, we should be getting proposals for. So if you want the desks, the tables that interlace, that like Latrobe had, they're $100 each, and we need 50 of them. Okay, I mean, those are kind of numbers that we should be able to generate, and then tune the two things together. Okay, so half the furniture doesn't come back from the other two schools.
Mhm.
Okay. Next thing that we talked about at last Wednesday's meeting was we didn't add inclusive pieces of the equipment to the Eisenhower playground. And we all agreed that, or at least several of us said that we need to do that. And now's the time to do it before that playground's installed and then you're tearing maybe a piece of the equipment out because to fit the inclusive stuff.
Okay, do we know what's been spec'd for that?
We do.
we do. We sat down there.
Okay, there's supposed to be 20% of that's supposed to be inclusive.
It's all the
I'm sorry,
ADA.
It's all ADA, but it was,
50% of it's inclusive.
it's all ADA is what they did, but just, it's not inclusive maybe in the eyes of what we consider inclusive. Does that make sense?
Yes, because they have a different definition,
Right.
which just irritates that.
Right, so it's ADA, it's all ADA, but it's not necessarily inclusive, like where.
50% of the equipment is supposed to be, 50% of the equipment is supposed to be able to be utilized by people in that are handicapped.
Yeah, so we briefly discussed how to
No, no,
do
no,
this.
no, that's requirement.
Right, but it's not necessarily a wheelchair, or it's not necessarily, like, there's no swing for a wheelchair, for example. That was not spec'd.
So I think, one, to bring it to this committee to make sure that we definitely want to do it. And then how are we going to do it? You don't, like you said, you don't want new equipment put in there and the surface poured and then we don't have the inclusive equipment. So we're going to have to probably work with the general and
Yeah, right out of the gate.
So do we have, Aaron, a list of the
It's,
more inclusive than what's you're comfortable with that's presented there?
we can get a list, Mr. Schroth. I don't have. one.
Okay, so I think that's the starting
Right,
point.
sure, we can
yeah,
do
we
that
talked
because,
about that. Tara,
Right.
Rob and
Right.
Aaron.
yeah, we're talking about that.
Yeah, we need to meet with the
Right, but right now, it's an
Architects
ADA
and-
accommodating playground, but it's not necessarily what we're thinking of going as inclusive out there, if that makes sense. not like the Miracle League where we, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. It's,
That YMCA is all inclusive.
yes, it
Okay,
is.
every piece of equipment can be utilized by
Right.
somebody that's handicapped.
Exactly, this is not.
And you're right, okay. I've had this discussion with these suppliers and they're driving me crazy. Somehow or other, you're supposed to get out of your wheelchair and crawl across the platform to something that you can lift up with your arms. Okay, it just,
But that still counts as ADA.
Yes, it
that
does.
counts as
That's
ADA.
what, yeah, and that's kind of
Yeah,
found out.
very
And I'm glad we
skewed
found it out
standards.
earlier than later, but still not.
All right, so anything else on this? So,
that should be picked up in the shop drawings and that should be something that comes up pretty quick. So at your meetings, that should start now.
Right.
Okay, they should submit that.
moving on to number F, the change order threshold for Larry, the clerk of the works.
I think it's both for administrative and clerk of the works. I think we've done it on all the past projects is, I want to wait till we have our first change order. Just trying to get ahead of it. We can put a motion on the next agenda if the committee's okay with it. Just approving the threshold, so that when change orders come to us, we can give preliminary approval to them so that the contractors are moving forward.
So throw a number up.
On a project this size, I mean,
What were they in the past, Jared, just as some examples?
I think for the East Pike project, it was $10,000. That was certainly a lot smaller of a project. This is the largest project we've had here at the district.
It's a very tight window of completion.
I'll throw out 25.
Yeah, I was thinking 20 or 25 is kind of what I had in my head.
Yeah,
And again,
no,
everything
when
comes
we-
back
when
to the
When we
board.
say 20, it comes back to the board, but if we give you a 20 and you approve it, we have to approve it. Okay?
Correct.
We can't second guess you. So just be clear here.
And what we did in the past was we reached out to members of the committee just to run it past them, just to make sure that, hey, this is what needs done, this is why it needs done. Our experts are saying it needs done, do you support it? And then just to make people aware, and then, a phone call or two, we can make a decision rather than wait 2 weeks for a board meeting.
Yes, yeah, I'm okay with 20, 25, but, and we have to approve whatever Larry recommends to you, and you're gonna sign it.
Yeah, believe me, I'm not putting Larry on the position where only he makes that decision. I think his voice is certainly heard in that, but I think it'll also be my voice, the architect's voice, Cheney, Dave's voice also all play an important role in that as well. And again, we do reach out to the committee as well to say, hey, here's what's happening. Everybody okay with us approving this before we get formal board approval?
So 20 or 25?
25, I think. Because it is a relatively large project and we have
We gotta keep them going.
a certain amount of inflation as well to deal with, so let's.
You guys good with that, Jim and Ron?
I'm good with that.
Should we set a weekly limit?
How many times, you know?
Yeah, we got 4 change orders of 25,000.
Believe me, if that starts to happen, we will be having a discussion here.
Yes,
It'll be a
Like the entire
discussion.
All right, anything else on number 1?
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
My only question, and Gary, is Larry did agree to the contract net then?
Larry knows he was approved and everything. We are just kind of working out the agreement right now. He has a copy of it. I sent it to him this morning, kind of what Ron and I worked out. So he and his attorney are reviewing that right now.
Yeah, and he did attend the pre-construction meeting, which was good. So here's how things are getting started. All right, moving on to number 2, East Pike Old Office renovation after action review. I'd asked this to be on here, and it's part of the operational plan that maybe Justin's starting to work on. I mean, it's just a good process to do on every project or even curriculum or whatever. So I wanted to hear back, and especially with the Eisenhower project in front of us. If we had to do the East Pike Old Office and the HVAC here, Is there anything that we would do differently? Have you heard anything from the custodial staff, you two, the teachers, you know?
The only thing I would comment on, and Dave and I were discussing this earlier today, was, and in my eyes, shame on the architect. We have no phone jacks in our new classrooms, and I'm a little bit upset.
Yeah, and I did talk to them about that because I said, well, you know, is that the case at Eisenhower as well? And their interpretation of our need for that is that automatic assumption that we are as modern, that we have digital voice over IP in all of our buildings, and why would you need the old traditional phone jack? And I said, well, that's not necessarily the case. We are not there yet. Are we going to move there in the future? Maybe we do install a new system like that at Eisenhower. I said, but you made an assumption that was wrong, that we are automatically at that point. Without telling us that that's where we were, what you were doing. We were assuming when we talked about where we needed phone jacks and everything, that you were putting a traditional phone jack there. Again, maybe we do need to, you know, modernize, and we will modernize Eisenhower. I said, and that's fine. I said, we're just not in the position that the whole district is going to that. So and they're looking into it. It came out of our meeting on Wednesday. I said, right now we have the capability. I can be sitting in my office and I can call a teacher in her classroom by simply hitting her extension. I don't have to go through the main number. I said, all of our buildings can talk in that way. I said, your new system that you now kind of forced us to go to, I said, does it have that capability? Because we can't miss that capability. And they're not sure.
I'm looking at the drawings. Did you look at the drawings to answer that question
About
about Eisenhower?
phone,
About the phone?
they are saying they have like your typical data line for which of, you know, the new phones can be plugged into, and it's more of an internet type based system, which is probably all the new modern systems. That's just how they are. We just don't have that in any of our other buildings. And if the new system, that's what it's going to be at Eisenhower, they cannot guarantee us until they talk to.
We're not gonna take responsibility for them. We're talking about East Peak, right? East Pike right now. Okay, every other room in East Pike has a phone jack. Every other room, and they assume that we didn't, which is just insane. Okay, and don't let them wiggle out of this. Okay, they didn't spec a brand new system for the entire school.
No.
Okay, we're missing what, half dozen phone jacks.
There's it's either 4 or 5,
Yeah.
but
Ask them
now
how
we
they're
have to
gonna
go
put it
back
in.
and take care of that.
Okay, that's. I'm also a little grumpy that they didn't bother doing some investigation that would have avoided some change orders. Okay, that we ended up paying a premium retail price on.
Okay, so we're working with Bugard Horn to
Yeah.
try to resolve that. Anything,
That's on,
right, that's
East
on
Pike.
East Pike. Well, let's stay on East Pike and then we'll
well,
go to,
okay, but we need to get back to this.
anything else?
That was my biggest issue.
And Don Springer, he's okay with everything, teachers.
Yeah, but we've not.
Everybody seems pretty pleased with the work that's been done. We had a couple of quirks with the AC, but, you know, once it got worked out, it's been working pretty good.
Denise still has the hottest room in the damn building.
She likes it that way. She turns it up, and then when I shut my door,
Each
it's
room has
really
a
hot.
thermostat.
So I agree with you. It's uncomfortable. But that's.
All right, so let's go to,
This set of drawings
Yes.
on Eisenhower. They have a symbol for voice data outlet, and telephone outlet. Okay, so somehow or other they put them into Eisenhower, but not to. East
well, I
Pike.
wonder if it has the same symbol.
I don't
on-
think it's a traditional, I'd be willing to bet you it's not the traditional phone jack. Do you think it is the traditional phone
It
jack?
says voice data outlet, and telephone outlet.
So
So there's
telephone,
3 different types, and they got them all over the place.
okay.
Wire's wire. It just, it needs
The
to
water
go to a
can't tell.
demarc that the system can connect to, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, they
So we
have-
need to check the
Yeah.
plans for here and see if that same note is on.
Well, yeah. They would have hung the contractor if it'd been on. The architect would have hung
Don't
the
assume
contractor.
that.
So what's happening in those classrooms now if they don't have access to telephones?
I was just, you're looking at the data and everything there. There was nothing in there until I noticed there was nothing in there, Verizon. They weren't even gonna wire data for us. And I went, well, Jared was there. That
Oh, yeah.
wasn't, I went round and
Yeah.
around with him several times about putting that in there.
Yeah, and I remember having that discussion.
Just as
The
a,
board.
I figured I'd come say that in person rather than over there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Terry, we had that discussion when we did the walkthrough.
right,
We wanted Jack's put in all these rooms,
Yeah.
because we'll get that when the time comes.
yeah.
Yes, it-
That's a good question, though, to answer Dr. Reeves, but I don't know. What is happening in those rooms? Do we have, I mean, I know they have walkie-talkies that they can use.
We have to go back and we have to we're gonna make an attempt to find the old lines, which should have been
Okay.
dead ended in the hallway somewhere in the corridor, and we're gonna have to create them. And now, in the state we're in, we're gonna have to run wire mold down the walls. And it can be done.
You can't run it in the wall.
Oh, some of them are blocked,
All right, they can figure that out.
but
I understand.
we'll get phones.
All right,
Okay.
Anything else on number 2?
Yeah, we need to put that on a priority though. We need the phones
Yeah.
working in those rooms.
Right.
If there's a problem, and those are vulnerable rooms, those have vulnerable population in them.
all right, moving on, number 3, we discussed this at outreach. So you want to cover it again, Rob, or?
Yeah, just quick for those of you who weren't at outreach, we had the East Pike Playground update. The phase 1 is complete, including all the drainage, the surface, the original surface that will be replaced in a later phase, and the playground equipment is up and operational. So phase 1 is done. Phase 2 has been ordered, and we expect that to come in after the new year and be completed, installed, and the whole phase 1, 2, and 3 should be done by April-ish, depending on when that stuff comes in and when the weather breaks, so that we can install the playground. After that, we talked about creating what we're calling phase 4, which is the beautification and accessibility piece of that. So in order for it to be truly accessible, we're going to need some sort of paved surface to get to it from some other paved surface. So that's going to require some money. We also believe that there should be some sort of memorial plaque or marker to celebrate the hard work that went into this and to recognize the people that contributed to the culmination of this project. So the United Way has offered to donate some money to this project. We're hoping that money that they donate can offset some of the money that the board has put up, so that money can be repurposed for phase 4. So that's the plan as we sit now, and there's still some fundraisers planned for the East Pike Playground, and we're building a foundation as well, so we could have some money for phase 4 down the road here.
We're gonna put rubber chips down temporarily, and then pull those back out.
They are
That is
already
in,
done.
that is in
done.
place
That's
now.
in, yeah.
Yeah, my suggestion is that when that comes out and the permanent surface is put in, that we relocate that rubber to another playground.
That's the plan.
Anything else on that? Thanks, Rob.
No, so just again, one more thanks to Bailey and Brandy for all the work they did. They did a fantastic job raising that money and helping us out. So
Yeah,
they were
that's for sure.
They got to, we got to take Miles and Graham to the IUP game this weekend. They were honorary coin tossers at the IUP Community Day, which was great. Miles, who's a 3rd grader, I didn't know this when I invited them, but he wants to be an NFL referee someday. He knows all the calls. So he was out there calling, false starts and blowing a whistle. He had a great time, and Graham had a great time. And it was wet and cold and miserable, but they made the best of it. So, but it was a nice way to say thanks.
Yeah.
So I was glad they got to come.
I know some of us attended that dinner the other night that wasn't actually spaghetti, but it was well done. And I was very surprised at how organized and the number of outside groups that were pulled into that whole process. So if there's another one, I certainly would encourage everybody here to attend it. It's just amazing to watch the thing unfold, and it was good food also.
Okay. I'm gonna move down to number 7 because Zach's been sitting there for a little while.
So I usually watch anyway, so.
Do you want it? It's up to you.
Just keep going, you're on a roll.
Okay, thank you. Number 4 is dealing with East Pike here again. It's a matter of getting a price to place aggregate next to the driveway where the soil was compacted and now there's a drop off, so.
Well, we're not placing aggregate, we're just gonna put soil and seed. We already got the price and he is scheduled, weather permitting, to start that process on Friday.
So
Who's
Burke Landscaping.
Burke?
Yeah, it's the guy that did the
Did the
drainage.
playground drainage.
Yeah.
So getting the soil in is no problem, but is it not getting a little late to be seeding it?
Probably.
You're close to the end of the season.
Yeah,
I'd still see it at this point, just to try to get it to stay put.
Get it, see if we can get something to start.
as long as they
You-
put straw
we have-
on it.
we
Well,
have to
or
go
some
back.
jute netting.
No, it's only this one.
Or do we wait for spring?
I think waiting for spring might be your best bet.
Well, this
We're
guy,
gonna
I mean,
use
he's a professional landscaper, he does this for a living, so I would think he would know, like, if it was too late, he would have told me it's too late to do it now, and he hasn't told me that, so.
So you gonna put straw mulch on it or anything, or?
I don't know the answer to that, I don't think he didn't go to those
He's just
specifics.
gonna put mud down and put dirt and throw seed on it, so. Again, I'm assuming he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you.
It'd be nice to get a cover crop on there. Go.
You know what?
It'd be nice to get the cover crop and go. So we'll probably use a mixture of fall seed and then spring seed will pop up later on.
Okay. The junior high pool repairs, we're gonna get an update. And I heard some good news. That's why I asked Jared to put this on the agenda.
You only want the good news on these agendas.
You gotta,
Yeah,
once in a
yeah.
while, share some good news.
Gotta celebrate the wins.
The heater and the chemical dispenser have been ordered. They will get scheduled the installation as soon as they arrive at their shop,
What's the projected date?
Ballpark, end of the month.
end of the month.
And this month,
Yes.
this is October, you only got 10 days left.
Told you it was good news, and that's not all of it either.
There's more good news?
Right, Dave?
Even better news.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we saved a little bit of money.
More than a
We
little
saved
bit.
a little bit of money.
How much?
How much?
Yeah, I got a guy over here that wants $5 million for light.
The purchase order for the heater and the chemical dispenser, I think, came to,
98.
no, that was just the heater.
No, it was.
I think it was 11 or
It was
12,000.
under 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how do you buy, can you buy these spike boards? Eisenhower?
All right, anything else?
That's for the boiler and the actuator.
Yeah.
It's not a boiler either.
Yeah, it's a pool heater.
It's a
It's
pool.
actually gonna be a pool.
It's designed for pools.
So where would we get the idea it was a boiler and it was
Well, it was a
33,000?
boiler.
Because that's what's there.
Well, that's,
That's
yeah,
what
what
it
So
is.
is that new technology?
And to replace what's there with what's there, with a replacement of an exact replacement would be
it was
$35,000.
$35,000.
Right, but this company's out of Pittsburgh and they're a
Yes,
pool
Being one of the
It's a pool
company.
pools, this is
company.
what they do.
That's what they do, and they recommended going with this
He
heater.
came up, looked at it, that's an installed price with removal of the old boiler
Right.
off the property.
Gas.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Cool.
How long is it supposed to last?
So it quits.
There's no life
10 to 12.
expectancy?
10 to 12. It was a typical pool boiler.
Pool heater.
We got
Pool
18
heater.
pool heater.
Pool heater.
Yeah.
out of that one.
Boilers.
You when I told him how old it was, he said, that's because of your pool applicator. That's why I always talk him up,
What's a pool applicator?
the guy that
The guy
handles the
that-
chemicals.
Yeah,
The guy that
the
takes care of it,
Dave, or, Rob Pease.
Rock Peaks.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
difference between a heater and a boiler is the temperature of the water.
Right.
And if we have a heater in there, we don't need a boiler inspection, which will also save us a few
It's
bucks.
another good thing.
Good. It's good news all around.
So making money, we're almost got those numbers.
Is that like 2 bulbs?
All right, next thing, the junior high chiller door replacement.
And, did you share the quotes on that with the,
I don't know, I just wanted to update the board on what we were looking at.
I got, for one of our companies we use for door replacements, I got 2 prices, one on a direct replacement for what was there, and another one was kind of a vinyl, which was a little bit more.
Just so we know what we're all talking about, we're talking about there's a door on a fence outside of where the HVAC unit is at the junior high. It's it's some sort of metal door that it's solid. It's not a chain link thing, but it's rusting, and the rust is like
Curling up.
curling out, and somebody's going to get cut and needs replaced. The question is, do you want to replace it with option A or option B?
It's the fence, it's not a piece of the equipment.
It's not the equipment, yes, it's just the
It's
enclosure.
The enclosure around the chiller.
So
And
why
it's,
isn't it a chain link fence?
I think it was probably done that way when they did that renovation for sound because of the chiller in the neighborhood. Because it's all foam filled.
There was, if I remember correctly, there was some complaint by the locals about the noise, particularly at night when that thing would kick on.
Yeah.
Um,
That was me being.
So what's the
always
two
my
options?
assumption. I didn't bring them.
Option one is replace it with exactly the same thing or the reasonable facsimile to the same thing, which is much more expensive.
Much.
It was,
Like a fiberglass door compared to a steel?
one was fiberglass coated with foam core and the other was just the steel like it was. And I think the highest price was, I can't remember, I think it was 9,000 and 11,000. The very
How big
large
is this
doors.
door?
They're big.
They're very large doors.
Why?
There goes the savings from the pool.
Big enough to get equipment in and out of there, the transformer that Penelec owns, it's inside of there, that
It's easier to cut the fence down.
It's the size of that section of wall. It's a large.
the enclosure is the size of this room. The whole enclosure where the chiller sits and the transformer.
Who'd you get the bid from?
It was, what's their name?
AB.
AB
Specialty.
Specialties. They've done a lot of our door replacements for many, many years here. All of our interior, exterior doors. They always seem to be one of the ones with the best prices.
Let's get a price on the chain link.
Then you're gonna have people screaming about
You're gonna
noise
have
again.
people screaming about the noise. I don't think so. Do you have the enclosure around it? I
You could
doubt the
put
enclosure
slats
does
in it.
anything. I'm
You
sorry?
could put slats in the chain link fence
could
and
do
maybe
that, but-
don't flex some of the,
Which direction does it face? It faces the road?
It faces the field.
4th Street.
We have 300 feet to the next house
Peter will be very unhappy.
for $11,000.
Or does he need a hearing aid now?
He does not need a hearing aid, but he might after this. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it shoots right over the houses. Noise shoots right over the houses. They don't hear anything there. And anyway, it's air conditioning. Everybody has their windows closed now. Nobody sits on the front porch. I don't think it's worth $11,000.
I don't remember the numbers exactly. And I didn't
Yeah,
bring
you
that.
just lost your
Well-
dollars.
Maybe, Janie, maybe see what, so we have the actual numbers, see what the chain link fence would, the chain link fence gate would actually, run whenever you bring the other information back to us.
the whole rest of the enclosure is chain link fence, other than against
It's
the,
all foam.
It's all the same product the whole way around. Well, it's 2 sides because the rest of it's building.
building.
How did the doors rust and the rest of it not?
I have no idea.
The door guy said the moisture got in the top. It got down in between the
In the
foam
door
and the
itself.
metal, and it rotted from the inside out, not from the outside. 'Cause we've repainted that a couple times since I've been here in 14 years.
But you didn't put any flashing on the top.
It's the way they were built.
What's everybody else think, Ron?
I'd like to know if the VOTEC could build one for us. It's just two sheets of steel with insulation in between.
But they, but
Yeah, I mean-
that doesn't do anything for sound.
Well, the insulation in between would be the
No, it
sound.
doesn't. It'd be better if we put foam on,
Well, you can't put it on the outside.
packing foam on the inside of it. Okay, it's a
That's
solution.
a lot of money for a steel door. I'm sorry. There's gotta be other places. I mean, if Corel was open, you could get them to build it. Did we try anywhere else besides just one company to get a price? We don't try anywhere else but one place?
Well, but if we're duplicating, it's gonna be, the problem is duplicating.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, put a solid door on it, that's fine. Yeah, but we gotta do better than $11,000 for this. It's not $1,000 in chain link. And it's a security fence.
Yeah, I wonder if plastic would work. I mean, like, it just, all it's supposed to do is create a barrier. It's not like it's
But
an
take a look at
impermeable.
where it
Yeah.
is. Sound doesn't.
That's, wonder if plastic would absorb sound better, would it? I don't know if it will or not, I'm
All it
just,
does is bounce it back into the same thing around until it bleeds out. But it's, gosh, that's ineffective as all get out.
Are there gaps between the side of the door and the hinges and stuff? So that it's not completely like built
Yes.
soundproof?
no, this is not a soundproof enclosure.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd say get
my memory was way off. The steel doors, that's all new hinges, all the hardware, everything. He's gonna put continuous hinges on, which they do not have now. The steel doors are 4,200 and the fiberglass are 5,360.
Well, that's better.
That's better.
Sorry.
Too many numbers.
By the fiberglass.
Yeah.
Fiberglass?
Fiberglass.
Anybody have an issue with fiberglass?
It makes me itchy.
I wanna buy it.
Especially when it's hot. Okay, junior high auditorium lighting.
Oh, you're on.
All right, I made 10 of these, if you want to show this. I presented twice last year, I think, so I wasn't planning to rehash everything unless you wanted me to. But short story is the junior high stage lighting, but more of a priority, the house lighting is gonna need updated at some point. I know the project made it onto the capital improvements list. So I asked Mr. Cronauer if I could just help keep this on the radar, and so he added this to the agenda tonight. So then I started updating my project here, and we knew the light bulbs were getting hard to find, so I brought one if you wanna see it, the burnout light bulb, but they're a little bit specialty looking, because they've got the long neck, so you can't just go buy these at the store. I called Pittsburgh Stage because I had heard that, incandescents are becoming illegal, and I looked up, the US Department of Energy said that these bulbs are illegal to manufacture, and it also says sell in the United States as of August 1st, 2023. So I called Pittsburgh Stage and I said, are these really gonna be illegal to buy? And he said, I would love to tell you that because I want to sell lighting systems, but he said, you're still gonna be able to buy bulbs from overseas. Who knows how long, but I think this one says made in China. I think Mr. Woodring's found some from Japan. But they're being phased out. So the next bullet point down, the government says that we have to have 45 lumens per watt. These make 18 lumens per watt, so that's why they have been nixed.
We're just looking for Edison's signature.
I'm looking at it going, I
Are the
could
ones that we
that.
have, are they burning up quickly now? They're
Yeah,
not
it's-
lasting as long as they used to?
Well, they only
Because-
last 500 hours.
Well, if you go in your house and you put an incandescent light bulb in now, it used to be, put a light in my living room lamp, the ceiling light, and it'd be 3 years, on off every evening, whatever, it'd be 3 years. Now in about 2 months, they burn out. There's something different about the,
I do think the quality
Electricity,
control is
something.
different, because if you look up, like these are, Mr. Woodring can speak to this, I was just Googling trying to find where you could buy these. So if you look at Amazon and look at like the specs on these light bulbs, they all have the same like 150 watt, however many lumens it is. But it'll say this one lasts 400 hours, this one lasts 750 hours. Like, I don't know if it's because they're coming from overseas that quality control is different, or they're just not monitoring how they're making them. I don't know. So on Amazon, the cheapest I could find was $12, and then up to 17. And then I did find on intralight.com that you can buy them for about $5. I don't know, Mr. Woodring, do you have anything to talk about with the cost and availability?
You're very close on those numbers, and Dave and I checked with our electrical suppliers, and they cannot sell us Sylvania bulbs, those long necks anymore. We cannot buy from an electrical supplier
You
now.
can't buy them.
They are not allowed to sell them.
Well, so then you
Just flat
moved
out
there,
sold.
2 years ago, they shut down St. Mary's. That was the last American light bulb in the United States.
They
Japan
can
bought
get
them
us
out
the
to get
Japanese
name.
bulbs.
Yeah, well,
that
that
are
Japan bought Sylvania to get the
5-something
name,
piece.
but the plant's gone. There is no light bulbs made in the United States anymore.
So, I mean, it's the same, it's not like an emergency, like we have, the auditorium is lit right now. But like I said, I just want to keep it on the radars because it's a big ticket item to get it updated. And if you were gonna do the house lights, which kind of are more of a priority because those light bulbs are not gonna be able to be purchased easily anyway. The stage lighting, they're all incandescent as well. But from what Pittsburgh Stage says, we're still gonna be able to buy those. Those bulbs are still gonna be findable because they're more specialty.
Yeah, they also don't have the hours that the house lights have.
Right. So I have on there that their max bulb life 750 hours. We changed them. You guys changed them a lot because
Because they're run pretty much all day long now.
and we've been trying to
Like a
actually
classroom.
tamp down on that because we know this is an issue.
Yeah.
The schedule has settled down a little bit where we're not in the auditorium all day, every day. Like if I see them on, I turn the lights off all the time if I see them on in the auditorium. But
Yeah.
still using it more than we
If
used
they were
to.
run like that, we're gonna change them 3 times a school year.
Do these lights dim through the dimmer panel?
They can be dimmed through the panel, yes.
Can you run around the dimmer panel?
I don't know anything about those panels and all that part of the operation. I know that you cannot take a new LED that is dimmable and put in there because it doesn't play well.
That doesn't
You
play
get to about halfway and it starts to strobe.
That would be interesting to the house.
If you leave it
Have the
up,
people in
if you leave it
fever.
up full bright, does the LEDs function?
They do function at full brightness.
Wow, that's interesting. And the LEDs need a specialized dimmer. A dimmer panel at the junior high is not capable of having an LED.
Correct.
So my question is, could you have an on-off switch and just run them straight? And if they run full bright, does that screw up anything that's in the system?
You know, we bought like a pack of 10 like a year ago and put them in and they worked. And then we found out
But you can't dim them.
with dimming, they started to strobe.
But they actually
But
light.
we didn't have the whole house filled with them.
They sometimes pulse a little bit. Like if you sit underneath them, you can kind of like feel them. It's all about, I don't know the science behind it, but it has to deal with the type of sine wave that goes through the electricity. The new dimmer rack controls the type of electricity that's
When you say the new dimmer rack, you mean the dimmer rack we currently have, which is 30 years old?
no, like a future.
A
dimmer
modern
rack.
one.
Like one of the high school has.
Okay.
Because LEDs function where they have the same power to them all the time. And then the dimmability is an electronic, like a message that dims them. Where these light bulbs, it's literally the amount of power that's going to them. So our dimmer rack like changes the amount of electricity that's going through that bulb. Whereas a new dimmer rack would be sending the same amount of electricity all the time. And then I don't know.
And the bulb using what it wants.
And the bulb, yeah.
That's a different system. That's a low voltage system.
Right, that's why they're
controls
more
that.
energy efficient and why the government's making everybody do it, so.
As your dimmer rack won't run an LED stage light either.
Correct.
It doesn't say.
How much does
So
the
the
new
last
system cost?
Yeah, so last time I did this, I presented last year, it was, you can do it in phases. You could do like the house and then keep the stage old. So that's what you guys did with the high school. I don't know if anybody was around, but when we did the senior high, I was a student there. and the district bought a new dimmer rack and new stage lighting. But at that time, LED was like too new, so those are still incandescent stage lights at the high school, but it had the new dimmer rack, it had the good brains, which was good. So now, later on, I'm not sure when it happened, but the high school house system got switched to LED because the dimmer rack was good. So the high school set up, they could switch to LED stage lighting tomorrow. You just go buy a fixture and plug it in, and it will work. The junior high, we would probably advocate to, if we were gonna do it in phases, do it.
Is that true? Can you put the LEDs in the senior high, or have you already done that?
The house lighting is LED.
The house lighting is LED.
And it's run off the dimmer rack and doesn't
Yes.
pulse?
Right, because
That's a
It's
new
a
rack.
it has the new rack.
That's a new rack.
It's good.
Yeah.
So all we need to do is
Half
replace the rack.
It's getting.
In the junior high, we need to replace the rack.
He's trying to tell you.
I'm just making sure that I understand this.
Well, listen.
Again, you have to run
he's
low
trying to say
voltage
do it in
warranty
phases.
fixture then too.
Yeah, then the fixture, so you can either do it all in one shot, which was, I think when I got the numbers last year, I didn't relook at those, it was like 320,000 to do house lights, dimmer rack, stage lights. You can do it in phases, do the dimmer rack, do the house, which was, I don't know, what, like 180 or something, but then you have to retrofit the new dimmer rack to run the old stage lights. It's just like anything, when you stretch out the project, it ends up costing more at the end. So at the end of phasing a dimmer rack house and then doing the stage lights in 3 or 4 years, you would end up paying $400-some thousand instead of doing it all at once, which I think, like I said, the last number was like 300-something thousand. And just so you knew, other schools are like running into this because all the schools were built at the same time. United is doing their auditorium next summer, and Penns Manor is trying to find funds to get theirs done as well, because everybody's, anywhere we go, people are like, our house lights, we can't find bulbs, there's dark spots everywhere. So,
But you can buy the bulbs, if the ones that are made in Japan right now.
yeah, like those, the Perminter light, I found them, and then there's a couple on Amazon. But yeah, like it's not an emergency, we have lights right now, but it could, I don't know, if next summer, if it turns up, like,
It's going to be an
a trade
emergency.
embargo with somebody.
Something we
and they
gotta
say,
put on the list.
No, and I'll weigh in on the dimmer rack.
Right.
The dimmer rack and the dimmer are almost impossible to operate. It's a very difficult system. It's not like the high school system is more sophisticated and easier to run than the junior high system. It's a very difficult dimmer for the kids to run. And so it's probably 30-some years old.
26.
26, so it's close. But it's an analog system, and the instructions are in.
I have to look them up every time we
They're
want to work
written in
it
Greek.
because
They're written in Greek. It'd be better to have a dimmer system that was compatible with the high school system for the educational component. Kids could learn on the junior high system and then move seamlessly to the senior high system. And we're going to be doing this sooner or later.
We've been talking about it for
Yeah.
a year or
Quite
so.
frankly, I'm surprised that the dimmer rack that we currently have is still running.
Right.
Well, when the guys came, everybody was shocked, like all the companies had come look at
We're
it.
not literally shocked, just.
Yeah, we didn't touch it, but they said, you guys take good care of it. Like, you guys, usually they're packed full of dust and everything, but it's in a nice little closet, like, it is in good shape. But yeah, educationally, the light board, we don't even really bother to teach the kids because it's so backwards and they're never gonna encounter it in their life. And if you talk about STEAM and STEM education, like there is a real, I tell the kids all the time, America, we are great at entertainment. That's like one of our number one things that we're good at. Lighting, sound, music, all that. I mean, we are great at that in the United States. And there are tons of jobs that deal with lighting and sound that these kids could be learning how to do at our school, but the junior high's just not, we're not there right now.
At one point, I was the technical director at the school for a year, and I was always happy when the lights turned on with that dimmer system.
So what's the plan?
Well,
Is
just
it on the, I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
so you replaced the dimmer rack. I understand that's a limiting factor for changing over to LED bulbs.
Mhm.
Why do we got to rewire all the fixtures?
You'd have to ask the electrician people, but
I mean, I'm no expert or anything, but I replaced all the LEDs in my house and I didn't have to rewire one thing.
That's not really the situation, is it?
They're not
It's the
rewiring, they're,
fixtures, isn't it, that's different?
yeah, I think the fixture, again, I did all this last year, so I'm a little.
Yeah, and I know you
Maybe.
presented it last year too, and it strikes me as a question because I can find LEDs in this bulb size. It's either 821 or 823, and it would match the exact fixture with the same 150 watt, equivalent in LED. But why do we need a new housing? That's the part I'm really confused about.
I don't think this includes a new housing or a new wiring between the dimmer packs.
I thought that's where a lot of the expense was.
We can.
Because the board's the board, we could buy that, and if we could use the original fixtures and wiring, then we're just buying a bunch of packs of bulbs and screwing them in.
And new dimmers, yes.
Well,
Basically, yes.
the board, yeah.
Yeah, why don't you pull the paperwork that you had last?
Do you have that paperwork?
I have it, I can pull my computer right here.
Oh,
I mean, if there's a reason, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
I don't think we have to run wire from the dimmer pack to each fixture. I don't think that's true, but
That's what we did at the senior high.
we ran new wiring.
It's all low voltage.
No. If the dimmer has a transformer.
That's the control voltage is low voltage to the drivers.
It's a smaller wire.
Because we, in-house, we pulled the wire. And that's not a fun place to be crawling around pulling wire.
No, it's, you got a catwalk. don't you?
There's no catwalk.
What do we call that, Capital Reserve?
But I know that was on one of these drills.
So how many bulbs
That's
do
what I
you
thought
have
was
right now?
budget. It's on there, I mean, we
budget.
approved 400,000
That's on that.
How many bulbs do you have on hand?
as a estimate for,
Number one or two.
Do you have enough to
This is
change
number one
the
right
the
now.
3 changes
I
for
mean,
this
it's
year?
not something that still needs more
And-
approval. to move forward
So
with
how
it,
many
but-
We have none on hand
you have none on hand?
because we can't buy the long neck anymore. The Japanese ones are not that long. I bought a pack of 10. We had to special order and wait. Because they wouldn't just give me a couple to try. And we use a long pole, an extendable pole with that springy thing.
Yeah.
They're a little bit shorter. When you get them up to the high ones,
Mhm.
we found out we're gonna have to try to put something in there to push that bulb up a little further because it's not as long as we put the other in.
Does it say it's gonna rewire?
So if you have none, basically,
Because we can't buy the
Just
Sylvanias.
get the new system and get it over with. There.
Installation.
As long as
If
it's
you
not
buy,
for
if you
one
buy
charge,
things from
fixtures.
China and
Because
you're gonna be paying
return
freight,
them
you're
very
gonna get garbage and they're not gonna work.
They're not
And you're
gonna
still
last.
gonna have to buy the new system.
And you can't return them
Just-
very
Just
easily.
do the new system.
At all.
If it's 320,000 for everything,
Well,
That was last year, so.
That was
I-
okay, so if it's
Again.
450,000 this year,
Probably.
I mean,
New wire.
or 420,
Who was that through?
can,
Pittsburgh
Can-
Stage.
Pittsburgh State?
So the other thing we learned through this last year is that Pittsburgh Stage is a CoStar dealer, so
That's just the panel though.
that would be like our
It
lowest,
doesn't say either the fixtures.
like we could just buy it, we wouldn't have to like go out to bid.
Would we like to invite them to come? I mean, if we're
For 100.
possibly gonna spend 300 some thousand dollars with
Why
them.
don't you invite them to revisit their proposal and then bring them to the next, and then.
He said he'd be willing to come, but Brian Strom was his name.
To the next buildings and grounds. meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
do we have any alumni who are big in the entertainment performance industry who would be able to give us a donation?
Because
Please tell me Dwayne Johnson went to school here.
823 bulbs, they're
What's that?
LED, it's the
Please
same
tell me
bulb
Dwayne
shape,
Johnson
but
went to
it's
school here.
21 watts instead of what we're running, but it's 150 watt equivalent. Same fixture, same bulb shape, we just need a new panel. Unless there's a big piece of this I don't understand, which is entirely possible, but I don't understand why they're
How
charging
long
us
is the
to
neck?
redo,
How long
It's
is the
the same
neck on
bulb
that
shape.
one?
Well, that's,
gonna break the broken bulb.
Have to take it home and fuse
There's
it.
a bunch of different bulb shapes, you just find the right shape.
yeah.
That's an 823.
We're also dealing with, multiple generations after the senior high install. Oh, the LEDs too.
Right.
So when you put the LEDs in there, it has to be 15 years ago.
Tom, take a look at that. I don't see
From
what's
the last time.
It mentions wire run in the top
Take it up for the panel.
for the panel, but
For the
it
light.
does that go the whole way to all the lights or?
Well, I'm thinking that you could
Put
change
it in
up
one of
about
your,
it.
Microwave
Okay,
Yeah, I've done that
you had to
already.
do this, but now they're a lot smarter. The bulb itself, and they're running,
Oh, I see.
Oh, there's a,
data, they're running data in a different sine wave or something.
it's called, yeah, now that's
You mean to the bulb itself?
Yeah.
to the fixture, and you can, like, I told him, like, we're at junior high, we don't need to be like Broadway, because you can, that's what it was, remember the signals called, they're called universes, so you set up a universe in your area, and that's how the board, the dimmer rack control each light, so you could, like, there's 100 light fixtures in the junior high in the house, you could turn that one blue, that one green, that one pink, I said, we don't need individual control, like, we need all of them on, all, like, so, but on the stage side of it, we would want to be able to change the colors of
Makes
the,
perfect sense, yeah.
so that's,
Yeah.
whatever that signal is that creates the
And
universe.
the nice thing with the stage light, the LEDs, is that you can put one stage light up, it's lighting that sign there, and you can change the color 9 different ways for the effects. In the old system, you had to have 9 different lights to do that.
I remember that.
And those bulbs are 15
So-
watts.
We're gonna update the estimate and then invite the gentleman to come.
It's Pittsburgh Stage Lines, which then?
Pittsburgh stage,
Pittsburgh stage.
that would be the other, so the other part of this, high school to junior high fluency. The high school has an ETC
All the
system.
rigging and everything too.
Pittsburgh stage doesn't deal with ETC. So if that was a priority where we wanted them to be the same, I
No,
don't know if
The
that,
one at the high schools, how old did you say?
2006, I think is when it was done. 'Cause that was,
Okay, so we should just,
No, yeah, we
no,
should
we
jump
should
in.
not. You know, it's nice if somebody learns to do it in junior high and they can carry it to senior high, but it's also nice to know how to run 2 systems.
oh yeah, I
Because if you
totally
get
get
out
it.
in the real world, you're gonna run into the third one, you gotta learn.
we'll be
Gotta
updating,
keep
we'll be
learning.
updating the senior high system in the next 4 years.
So,
Because it's gonna be 20-some years old too.
so these guys would come up and take a look at what we've got and then come to the next Buildings and Grounds
They
meeting?
I think they already have.
I've had 2 different Pittsburgh stage and Lehigh, because Lehigh's what we have right now. All the schools, United, Pennsylvania, everybody, Lehigh got all the contracts back when all the schools were built. But Lehigh's not, people don't use them anymore, it seems. Pittsburgh stage, we've already used them they come and do all our curtains and they do the safety inspections every year. So yeah, they've already looked at our system and
Yeah.
taken their measurements and
So we're
stuff.
gonna get an updated estimate, and I'm okay too, if we wanna put it on the academic committee, if the guy can't make the
Sure.
building grounds meeting.
Well, or whichever meeting's first.
Right.
Yeah, this should be pretty quick.
You started to ask too, is that on our list of projects?
Yes, it
Is that, yes?
It is.
The priority one?
There's
It is a priority.
400,000, it's a priority one.
Okay.
Okay,
Does anybody need, so I'm gonna ask him to come to the next meeting with an updated bid quote.
Yeah, and
then
send it
people
to
can
us.
ask him questions and,
yeah, and send it to the board ahead of time.
yeah. That's what they- I talked to him today and I said I talked to him yesterday. You don't have to voice updates, saying that was coming here,
You
so.
can either invite them to November 6th is the academic committee meeting, or the Buildings and Grounds will be 2 weeks after that, so.
The 23rd is audit and finance.
We're audit finance too.
And we don't have anything on the 30th.
So which one do you prefer? Is there a meeting that's better than another?
Probably, I don't care.
The 23rd would be better to get Julia involved. So if it's possible, the 23rd, if not, the next meeting of academics is on the 6th. The board meeting then.
You're talking next Monday? Or is it November
Yes.
23rd?
That's what he's
October
talking about next
23rd.
Monday. We have high expectations, Suzanne.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to do this?
Happy to do it. Hey,
Yeah, the 23rd, next Monday, is audit finance. Okay, so that can deal with the cash. And then the academics on the 6th of November.
Okay,
Got it.
Okay,
All right, thanks, Zach.
Line up your ducks.
Thanks, everybody. All right.
On
Uh,
a side note, if you have any extras of these,
Burnt ones or?
yeah, the ones you are gonna dispose of, I'd like to
Probably gonna make something out of
Yeah, actually, I've got ideas.
So give it, Mr. Woodring, because she had that.
About 100 of them in there.
Yes, I only need 5.
There's 5 more.
All right, before I go to number 8, and maybe the vacant building out here, the dilapidated building, what's the status of? Somebody was gonna put together some
Yeah, we
scenarios.
did. We had a couple ideas. I worked with Dawn on that, and right now, I don't have that. I didn't have it on my head, so give me.
Did we get a quote for the roof? Did some guy come out and look at that?
What's his name was up here?
Craig?
Yeah, he was up here. I think, Tom, you talked to him, and he was looking at, a couple different possible solutions. But that's the last I heard anything from Greg on it. I don't know if he conveyed anything to you or not.
Not that I want to repeat, because I'm not sure I remember the number. So, yeah, and I also had CNC look at it. But I didn't get a number from them. They were looking at it to put wood trusses over it. Any possibility of getting a dumpster and everything and then throwing it away?
That's easy, getting dumpsters.
It's just junk. Okay, I mean, you couldn't walk in the thing.
We just found out
Maybe there's new desks in there.
this week before last, right before I went on
There is
vacation.
desk in there.
I know.
Part of the roof that fell in, hit the panel box in there.
Oh, good,
So we turned the switch off in the switch room.
before you break the thing down. We have really good experience with fires and
Don't need any more.
but it's too wet for it to burn.
But we don't need any shorts traveling back into the system either.
Do you have anything else, Rob, there? or-
I had a text Dawn. I thought he sent me an email, but I don't see it. So.
What's on the to-do list,
Let's see.
other than the building out
Updates.
there?
Swimming pool was on the to-do list. We got the update on that. We got the door on the to-do list. That was on the East Pike driveway repair was on the to-do list. The stadium lights are being replaced,
With
other stadium lights.
LED.
LED,
Nope, they're being replaced with
Similar.
similar.
Just burned out.
bulbs,
Yeah.
right.
Burned out
Direct-
balls. Yeah, this is not a whole,
We're not having an upgrade.
correct, no upgrade scheduled currently.
You found somebody to climb or something.
They did indeed, yeah. The auditorium ceiling is on the list, but that is, they're gonna have somebody come in and look at the plasterwork that underneath the stairwells. The school's gonna have to be shut down to really do the auditorium ceiling, so they're gonna look at that for the summer. The sidewalk accessibility, we're following up on why that hasn't been addressed yet. We did hear from the guy, though, that they were gonna fix it, correct?
That was the last thing.
At the senior high?
The senior high.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because I got a text from a guy, I
I
thought,
can't remember his name. Young guy.
yeah.
He just started right before that happened. It actually happened before he started.
Well, his boss has been texting me.
Contacts.
Yeah,
The district manager's been texting.
yeah. So it's still in progress.
Yeah, I mean, they told us they were gonna do it, but they have not done it yet, so we're gonna follow up with them. I think that's,
Is this building out here on there?
no, but I'm gonna add it. I'm gonna see if,
Yes,
There
sir.
might be, did they ever paint the restrooms in the senior high? Or maybe the ceilings are just peeling in there? That's not on the list. We should put that on the list.
okay, what else was on the list?
Not in the
That's-
restrooms outside the auditorium at the senior high. They're in pretty bad shape.
I remember we were in a meeting over there, they were just peeling paint on the ceilings. And the other thing I would like to bring up, Terry, we really need, and I probably won't be on the board at the time, but we need to do something with Ben Franklin, that walkway up to the playground with that gravel. If you look down there, it's all over that cement going into that building again. There has to be something better than that.
Oh.
Because that gravel gets on the kids' shoes and in the wheelchairs, and it's just coming down on the concrete, just going right into the school.
You can't take a wheelchair across gravel. So
We need, that's
we
something that
bite
needs to
the
be
bullet.
done there.
We need to bite the bullet and put a hard surface in there if that's going to be our playground, or we need to build a inclusive playground in Red Franklin.
And move
Well,
it.
that's, I know it's gonna take time to get money and raise for that, but somehow, that's just a pathway up to that playground. It needs to have something done. It's awful. I mean, all you gotta do is, you can see that from the road to gravel on that sidewalk down there before you enter into the school. And I shoveled it off 2 times when I was up there working last year on that outdoor classroom.
Yeah, it's,
And it's just terrible. I don't know,
You
you
know,
gotta admit, it's gotta go in there and scratch that floor.
you
I don't know
know,
how you can't get gravel from not going and scratching them floors.
you know the surface that they put on the, like the Hoodlebug Trail and the Ghost Town Trail and stuff, that crushed limestone.
Yeah.
That stuff packs down. You can, if it's dry, run a wheelchair on that.
I mean, anything, if we could just do a temporary fix for now.
If it's wet, it comes in on the feet.
Yes.
How often does it have to get packed though? What do freeze thaw cycles do to it in the wintertime?
That's not the real problem.
If the
real problem
bicycles
is-
are on it, it can rut it up. You know, it gets soft. But
Yeah. So wheelchairs would do the same.
if it's wet,
Yeah, I think the bigger problem with it is that it'll stick to everybody's feet when it's damp.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it would make a tracking mess. Well, what, I mean,
I wish when we were doing the blacktop over, I should have
Yeah.
asked them to give us a bid on that little piece, and Sean would have dug that out with the tractor and we could put stone in like we did the
how
pathway.
long is it?
It's probably 300 feet if that, maybe 250.
It's longer than-
And it's only that, well, probably 3 feet wide.
Yeah, it needs to be 5 foot wide to go.
Yeah, it's not that now. It's only about that wide now.
Yeah, but it's useless for a wheelchair.
I just hate seeing that gravel going down.
We add that to the list, Robert, or what do you want to do?
Working on it right now. We'll add that. We'll add the senior high bathrooms. Now, the senior high bathrooms that
You
are
should
the paint.
Check all the bathrooms, because
Check all
bathrooms
of
have so much humidity, the paint will get, the ceiling paint especially.
The ones,
The walls might be
Yeah,
tile.
I only spoke for the men's room. I don't know about the ladies' room in there.
yeah.
And this is the
I
men's
don't know, but I
room.
want the plumbing.
You know, when we met,
Upper
the upper
Commons.
commons, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
The faucets in those
also the
bathrooms were terrible
Restrooms
too.
Yeah,
outside
okay,
the
yeah.
auditorium.
They need
The
new
men's
washers
room,
or
I wasn't
something.
in
Okay, now that might replace, I mean, those need renovated. And that might need to be put on the list for,
the- I would say so too, because you
The
have a lot of
bathrooms near-
functions there.
right, the bathrooms near the auditorium at the senior high are just in bad shape and
Bathrooms off
generally
the upper commons are bad too.
Not as bad.
not as bad as the ones on the.
No, but
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Less than what was.
new washers, new stems, new something in those faucets, because you turn them on and they just barely dribble. Something.
Make it senior high bathrooms.
Anything else?
All bathrooms.
Yeah, the ideas that
Except
Dawn had
Eisenhower, nobody
for,
knew.
Dawn and I met and talked about the auxiliary room. One idea he had was take the roof and doors off and put a new roof on and make it a large pavilion that could be used for outdoor learning, outdoor lunches, outdoor play when it's raining. That was one idea he had. Second idea he had was if you want to completely renovate it, we could turn it into a pre-K classroom. He said it's actually large enough on the inside, you probably fit 2 pre-K classrooms in there. He said, but those are the 2 best ideas that he had as far as, if money wasn't an option or wasn't an obstacle, what would he do with it? Those are the 2 things that he thought would be most beneficial to the operation of the building.
And we don't have an outdoor pavilion here.
There's no outdoor pavilion with a cover now.
Man, that sounds like a good idea.
I
Tear all
like
the
that
walls,
pavilion
doors off,
idea.
and
Throw some tables in, some learning center stuff in, yeah.
some lights. and
Yeah.
Roof.
In an outdoor learning center.
Mhm.
That'd be a start for it.
I mean, it's
Sounds wonderful.
It's in a nice part of the property too.
Yeah,
right next to the playground, so I mean, the kids could have an option to go in there. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
it's not a bad idea.
Anything else for the good of the order?
If we're going to do that, we also should look at fencing that playground in a little more substantial fencing than the bars are there. The bars are getting it.
It needs to be fenced anyhow.
Yeah, we use the nice little fence down at Homer, 4 foot high.
Yeah, really for safety, I mean, there should be some sort of fence or bollard system in there that, so no one can
Well,
drive up through there.
2 ways, so the kids don't get
Well,
out in the middle of the street. and
Fence so the kids can't get out too.
And somebody would slow down the car.
Keep the inmates in, keep the bad guys out. Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach, for coming again.
Oh, hey, yeah, one last thing. Zach had a good idea and I just
Whoa, 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 whoa.
want to bring it up. This is off record. This is off